The 648th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMA SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And last but not least, make sure to enter the free roll football contest. Up to $3,500 in prizes are up for grabs. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos, and welcome to episode 648 of the MMA Guy Middling podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Going out to Scum555, one of our friends on YouTube who joked around about some losing Contender Series picks, but still says he loves the content. It's going to be a he. Now, no woman would call herself scum or watch our content. So this goes out to them. If you want,
we got 1% lady listeners right
true.
now. I'm gonna jump in there.
They're not scum though. Is the main point here. So yeah, make sure you are one of our listeners, especially if you're a lady, one of our viewers as well. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. I am one of your hosts here, Jeff Chalks Fox. Thank you for coming to the second half of our UFC Vegas 97, I believe we're up to now, aka UFC Fight Night Burns versus Brady. Yesterday we went through the 7 prelim fight cards. Today we're going to go through the 6 main card fight cards. Some good, at least the top 2 fights on this card are very good, and we will give you winners for all of them. Not just me. I say we. It's not just a royal we. There's someone beside me. His name's Gumby Vreeland, and we're going to say hello to him now. Hello.
Yeah, and I think more than just the top 2 fights are good. The featherweight fight third from the top is, a couple of guys who I think are chronically underrated at featherweight right now. You got one guy who's fought 4 times in the last couple of years and has 4 knockouts to show for it. And somehow we're not talking about him fighting a ranked opponent. So there's good talent here. And who doesn't enjoy a Trevor Peak fight? Like, you got to be a psycho to not enjoy watching that guy throw down.
One of these days, Gumby's going to pull off his mask and reveal himself to be Dana White shilling for all these fight cards. But no, this is a fun fight card. Before we jump into it, though, I got to tell you, make sure, if you haven't already, check out the Bosses podcast on either YouTube or wherever you catch your podcasts, the Sports Gambling Podcast. They are back picking every NFL game against the spread, like they've done since 2011. So get that in your orifices before tonight's kickoff. And please make sure you subscribe and enter our free roll football contest. You can win up to $3,500 in cash. Sign up at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll, as in a biscuit that you're not paying for, is what we're saying here. All right. UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Brady at the Apex, UFC Apex. Usually that makes us cringe, but no, this is a good one. September the 7th, main card starts at 4. This card probably, I would guess it would start at 7. Is that what we're going to say?
Sure.
We'll say it starts at 7. You're going to watch it all because you're a degenerate, or you wouldn't even be paying attention to us right now, right? Kicking things off with a lightweight fight, Rongzhu versus Chris Padilla. Let's break it down. He's not Chris Padilla. He's Taco Padilla around these parts. 14-6, 6 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. 1-0 in the UFC. He has won 4 straight and 5 of 6. All 4 of those past wins, most recent wins, have come via finish. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. Used to fight at welterweight. 0-1 in Bellator. 2014 pro MMA debut. 2 inches reach over Rongzhu. He's got better grappling stats than him. He has been outstruck in the UFC in his one fight. He won it, though, by 1.54 strikes per minute. He's a plus 215. Rongzhu, Little Yama is the nickname. 25-5, 15 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been submitted 4 times. 1-2 in the UFC. 3-0 on road to UFC, and the champion of the season he was on. Won his last fight via submission. Is not lost since February 2022. Missed weight twice at 155 pounds. Was a regional champion. Used to fight at bantamweight and featherweight. 5 years younger than Padilla. Twice more active landing strikes. He's been outstruck over his UFC and road to career by 0.13 strikes per minute, minus 250. A surprising line. I don't want to steal all Gumby's thunder or his thumber, because he went through this on his other podcast, Top Turtle. But yeah, I'm Taco Padilla as a big dog here too. Man has looked really good. I think once again, a lot of the road to UFC people are being overrated here. At least they are for this week's UFC event.
Yeah, I'll also say this: like Padilla looked good before he was in the UFC. Like he beat the crap out of Justin James, who is, he's stuck around the UFC for a while, and if nothing else, is like a big power puncher with like tough wrestling skills. And Padilla ran through him. And then you watch what he did to James Yontop, and like that's not easy to do either. Yontop's pretty durable. The big thing that worries me here about Rongzhu, but if you are one of those people who's going to try to back him at almost 2.5 to 1 here, he's given up 6 takedowns in his last 2 fights, and not against name brands in terms of wrestling. I mean, I guess Shin Haraguchi was one of them, right? And like, it makes sense to give up 4 takedowns to him, but he gave up 2 takedowns the fight before that too. Padilla is a guy who puts a pace on people. He's got good wrestling. His jiu-jitsu's nasty. Yeah, I see Padilla getting takedowns here and being on top of Rongzhu. I also see him putting a pace on him. You mentioned Rongzhu being a guy who's missed weight. He's very big for lightweight. It's very hard for him to make the weight. It's very hard for him to keep that cardio for 15 minutes. And say what you want about Taco, but that dude just keeps coming with great pace. So yeah, I can't believe we're getting 2 to 1 on him. Give me Taco Padilla.
You know what I'll say about Taco? Delicious. That's what I'll have to say about Taco. Okay. I was briefly in your country on the weekend, and I made sure to get tacos while I was there.
Nice.
So
Good play.
even the Michigan area tacos are better than most of the tacos you get up here.
Michigan area taco.
Michigan area tacos. There's a episode title because we weren't.
Is Chris Padilla from Michigan? Because he did fight Justin James, and that's generally where Justin James fights his like regional level stuff.
We're getting derailed already, but I'm going to check. That's what this podcast is all about.
He himself could be a Michigan area taco.
He could. If you do hang out around Detroit, you'll find no one wants to admit they're actually from Detroit. There's every little town, even if
he's from Gardena, California. That's not the same thing.
Definitely not Detroit. No. Yeah, we're both going. We can't pass him a taco, whether he's a fighter or the food. So yeah, Taco Padilla is the pick here. Well, why do you think the odds are the way they are?
I don't know. I mean, maybe Padilla only having 1 fight. Maybe the win against James Yontop not aging necessarily all that well because Yontop looked kind of shaky in his next fight. Maybe Rongzhu beating a wrestler. But he beat a wrestler who is like crazy one-dimensional too. Like I'm a Shin Haraguchi fan, and like I can respect that like Shin Haraguchi is a wrestler and nothing else. He's going to fight a guy who's good at wrestling, good at jiu-jitsu, and can strike a little bit. I think that's a tough combo for him here.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully we are right here. That would be a very nice hit. Oh, if we hit Demopolis, then we hit this one. Fantastic. Even one of them. If we hit one of them, we're going to have a good night. So let's stick with lightweight, shall we? We always have a good night when Trevor Peak fights, whether you're in on them or not, or if you're neutral. It'll be a good night watching the hammer. Standing hammer fist fly. Lightweights, Trevor Peak, Yanal Ashmouz. Ashmouz, despite his having a nickname like me, Red Fox, he's obviously a fan of Sanford Son and of myself, but he is up against Mr. Hammer Fist himself. So let's tell you about Ashmouz for 7-1, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. He owes his rounds. Regardless, 1-1 in the UFC. Did lose his last fight. That was back in July of 2023. He went 1-0 in the PFL. Used to fight at welterweight, and he's been outstruck in the UFC by 2.27 strikes per minute plus 105. You hear a Red Fox barking outside?
Dogs are barking, man.
Yeah, that's a service dog barking. And service dogs, obviously, they're trained not to bark. Ours is, he doesn't care anymore at this point. Well, he never did care, but he's almost retired, so he really doesn't care now. All right, Peak, 9-2 with 1 no contest. 8 knockouts, never been finished in a fight. He owes his rounds 2. 2-2 in the UFC, loss over his last 3. 1-0 contender series, was regional champion, 2 inches reach over Ashmouz. Foxes don't have long arms, traditionally, do they? Better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats than Ashmouz. He's outstruck his opponents by 0.41 strikes per minute. Most of those via hammer fist, minus 125.
I'm going Trevor Peak. I think couple of pieces here for me that really like Trevor Peak. First of all, Ashmouz looks like he fades a little bit later into fights. Trevor Peak is the same. Trevor Peak is the same dude at the first minute as he is in the 15th minute. Is it technically proficient? Nah. Also, like Ashmouz's only win is when he knocked the dude out. It was Patrick Patterson.
Peter Patrick Patterson?
Peter Patrick Patterson.
For real. That's his name.
Patterson.
Are you guessing what his name is?
Patterson. Sam Patterson.
Peter Patrick Patterson. Another good name. You're giving me too many options here.
His only win in the UFC is the Sam Patterson knockout, where he threw like a bomb of an overhand right, like 6 seconds into the fight and won it. He's not shown he can go 15 hard minutes with anybody. And Trevor Peek can't be knocked out. I think you could hit him in the head with a shovel and he'd just keep moving. Like he's like Homer Simpson for real. And maybe it's his like crazy. He's got the craziest past I've ever heard a person tell a story about. Like when I was interviewing him one time, he was telling the story of his youth and my jaw was literally open the whole time he was telling it because he had a crazy life. Maybe it's the crazy life that has made him so durable. But man, this guy could take anybody's biggest punch. I think he'd keep moving. He was in there with Chepe for 15 minutes and took his best shots. I think you're going to see Trevor Peek just have the grittiest kind of fight, and I think he's going to pick up steam as the fight goes on. Give me Trevor Peek here.
You say he can't be knocked out. What if Trevor Peek fought Trevor Peek, and Trevor Peek got hit by a hammer fist by Trevor Peek?
I think they just hammer the top of each other's head the whole time, and it'd be great.
They'd be in the ground by the end of the fight. They'd be hammering themselves down like a post. All right. So we're both in on that. Perfect. We're both in an Underdog Fantasy. I'm going to tell you about that as well. We just gave you a big dog. Plus, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. The NFL is back, baby, and there are a ton of Pick'em specials to get you started. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. Gumby, do you have another play for us? Braves, Cowboys, the rest.
I'll separate out my NFL picks here. I like Travis Etienne's higher than on his rushing yards. I actually like the higher than on his rushing touchdowns too, because he's going to be playing the Dolphins. I'm a little bit lower on their run game defense than I think some people are. And Etienne is always putting up good numbers as long as he's healthy. I think he's healthy here. We're going to see a big day out of him.
All right. Who's Etienne?
Travis Etienne.
Oh yeah. Okay. See, I don't think I drafted. Did I draft him last night?
I don't know. You
I got a D.
You could have auto picked that draft. It would have given you the same people. That's how you do football.
I realized why I got a D rating, because as a show of solidarity with you, I picked the Cowboys defense, and they probably got mad at that.
I don't think that's it. But anyway,
sign up with our code on Underdog Fantasy SGPN MMA to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code MMA SGPN. I guess I should face the camera again. I'm sideways here. All right. Hi everybody. Professional broadcaster in the house. What are we moving to now? We're going down to bantamweights. Matt Schnell versus Cody Durden. Tell you about Danger Schnell. 16-8 with 1 no contest, 2 knockouts, 9 submissions. He's been knocked out 5 times, submitted twice. 6-6 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight. Only won 1 of his last 4. Both of his past 2 losses will come via knockout. Has not won since July 2022. Used to fight at bantamweight, 1-1 in the Ultimate Fighter, 2012 Pro MMA debut, 3 inches reach, an inch of height over Durden. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.33 strikes per minute, plus 210. Cody Durden, 16-6-1, 6 knockouts, 5 submissions, knocked out once, submitted 4 times. Taking this fight on short notice, very short notice, just this week. I believe it was Tuesday he got this fight. 5-4-1 in the UFC. He has also lost 2 straight. Before that, he won 4 straight. Both of his past 2. Now I'm having a stroke, just like yesterday's episode. Gumby had one. Both of his past 2 fights have come via finish. He's been finishing 2 straight, just like Schnell. He used to fight at bantamweight as well. Regional champion, 4-0 in pro boxing. A year younger than Schnell. He's outstruck his opponents by 0.1 strikes per minute. Better grappling stats than Schnell, minus 250. I'm just going to go with my stats here. I'll take Schnell as a big dog. I'm not taking Cody Durden at this number, taking a fight on a few days' notice. So give me Danger Schnell, a tough guy to fight in the best of times, especially on a couple of days' notice.
I just want to take a quick time out on the podcast for a second, because I think we just set a record for the first time in 648 episodes of this podcast. I think Jeff has taken 3 plus 200 on the same card, and I'm going to team ride with all 3.
All right.
I like Matt Schnell here for what you said already. I like the stats feature of it. The fact that Cody Durden's taking this on short notice. I also generally, if a dude's taking fights on short notice, when they're coming off of losses and they're just trying to make those up, right? Like that's the worst time.
It's like gambling. They're chasing. Yeah, like you're playing poker or sports gambling, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, Cody Durden is chasing having a win back. And he's willing to fight anybody, especially a ranked guy on short notice, to try to get that win back. If Schnell's still ranked. Yeah, I think Schnell's still ranked. But the thing about Schnell is Schnell is an ugly matchup here for Cody Durden. Because, like, say what you will about Matt Schnell getting stuck in bad grappling positions once in a while, but it usually only happens against like top level grapplers. You know, like it happened against Pantoja, and you know, like it happened against guys like that. But he's mostly done fairly well for himself on the mat. In fact, it saved him in the Sumu Derji fight when he decided to finally start grappling and getting work done. He himself is a pretty darn good grappler in terms of his jiu-jitsu skills, in terms of his wrestling skills. And the one thing I will tell you that has always been true about Cody Durden, whether he's on his winning streak or on his losing streak, the dude shoots takedowns in a dangerous way that often gets him caught. We saw it happen against Jimmy Flick. You know, he got flying triangled shooting a takedown. It's happened more recently. He's gotten tagged trying to blind shoot takedowns. I think Matt Schnell can catch him with a submission in those instances. I love Matt Schnell in this case. I think Matt Schnell, great value.
As for the plus 200s, 25 have won this year, which is, I think, super high. I don't have.
That sounds high.
Yeah, I'll have those stats on my Substack, moneymma.substack.com at some point. But yeah, we've got a plus 575. Do you remember who that was that came through?
575.
Someone who a friend of your podcast, a Canadian.
575. Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Amon Sahabi.
Oh, I'm a Sahabi. Yeah, he's fighting against Jonathan Martinez. I think he's got a fight with Jonathan Martinez.
Okay, I thought didn't he have a fight fall out? I'm not sure if
he did have a fight fall out. Somebody else got rescheduled. He wound up with, I think, Jonathan Martinez.
So he's the biggest one that came through. Plus OSP at plus 450 came through this year as well. So yikes.
Great
yeah. Great. Yes. Very great. All right. I already told you. I already did the ad read. Yes, I did. Let's move on. Let's get some more winners. I feel good that Gumby's in on that one as well. All right, featherweights. Steve Garcia versus Kyle Nelson. Speaking of Canadians, Mr. Nelson would be one. I'm going to tell you about him first. He is Willie Nelson, and he's the monster. 16-5-1, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. Knocked out twice, submitted once. 4-4-1 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight fights, and he's gone 3-0-1 over his last 4. Won his last fight via TKO. Has not lost since July of 2022. Used to fight at featherweight, regional champion, 2012 pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 1.04 strikes per minute, plus 165. Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, 16-5, 13 knockouts. It's impressive for a lightweight class guy. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 5-2 in the UFC. He's won 4 straight and 5 of 6. All of those have come via knockout or TKO. He's fought at lightweight, 1-0 on Contender Series. He's fought at bantamweight as well. Missed weight at bantamweight. But now he's right in the middle, so he should be good. 5-2 in Bellator, 2013 pro MMA debut, an inch of height, 4 inches of reach over Nelson, a year younger, better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats than Nelson. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 2.49 strikes per minute, which is scary considering how hard he hits, minus 180.
Yeah, I'm going Garcia here. I think, look, I'm impressed by the run Kyle Nelson's been on. It's pretty impressive. But the bottom line is I just don't think Kyle Nelson is the type of guy who can stay elusive enough to be outpointing Steve Garcia. Like, I think Kyle Nelson's a guy who isn't afraid to take a shot to give a shot. You know, and in this style of fight, I don't know that that's a good thing. You know, like a lot of times you're like, good, this guy needs to turn up the pressure. This guy does need to get in this guy's face. This is a guy you don't want to get in his face. Anytime you challenge Steve Garcia welcomes that challenge and he drops you. And he's been doing it to person after person after person after person lately, despite being doubted in a lot of those fights too, right? Like he's a dog in at least a couple of those. And like, for me, you know, Garcia, low-key, not just the power, but also like, he's not an awful wrestler. You know, I'm thinking of the Charlie Ontiveros fight. Like he had some wrestling ability in that too. But like, you know, like he can mix it up on the ground if he needs to. I don't think he'll need to here, but yeah, I'm going to stick with Steve Garcia.
Yeah, I'm going against the Canadian as well. Nice run for Kyle Nelson. It seems like we always pick against him and he keeps winning. So hopefully it's not the case this week. But yeah, Garcia is a scary dude to be fighting, especially as you said, if you're willing to eat one. because you're not going to eat too many from that guy before it's lights out. So Garcia is the pick here. To the co-main event already, women's flyweight, Jéssica Andrade versus Natália Silva. We tell you about the former champ, Andrade, Betty Estasa, which means
pile driver.
26-12 is Andrade. 10 knockouts, 8 submissions. Knocked out 5 times, submitted 4 times. 17-10 in the UFC. Used to be the champion of 115 pounds. She won 2 straight. Before that, she lost 3 straight. Used to fight at featherweight, which is crazy because she's like 5'1". No, not featherweight, bantamweight, but still crazy. 2011 pro MMA debut, more active linear strikes than Silva, better grappling than Silva, grappling stats at least. And she's outstruck her UFC opponents by 1.25 strikes per minute, plus 245. Silva, 17-5-1, 5 knockouts, 7 submissions. She's been knocked out once, submitted twice, 5-0 in the UFC. She's won 11 straight. She's not lost since December 2017. Was regional champion. Used to fight at strawweight, 3 inches height, 3 inches reach over. Andrade, 6 years younger. She's outstruck her UFC opponents by 2.43 strikes per minute. Very impressive. Minus 275. Give me the younger up-and-comer in Silva. Even though Andrade is, we had it written off, but she, turned back the clock the past couple of fights. But I still like Silva to beat here. I do not like this number, as I think Gumby's on my side with that as well. I think I stole that take from his podcast. But yeah, don't like the number, but I think Silva's going to win regardless.
Yeah, I'm staying off this line. I'm going to take Natália Silva ultimately because – I tried to talk myself into Jéssica Andrade as a dog because she's got that power punching, but the bottom line is I don't like her up at flyweight. You mentioned she turned back the clock in those last 2 fights. Yeah, they were at strawweight. They're where she belongs.
Yeah.
No offense to Jéssica Andrade and her quest to, take as many fights as she possibly can. But, fighting Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez is a lot different than fighting Natália Silva, who, had the physicality to deal with Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's a monster, right? Like, man, did that win age really well. I think it was her UFC debut, and I was like, man, she showed she's something. And so for me, yeah, you got to worry about the power of Andrade enough that, like, I don't want Natália Silva in any of my parlays at negative 275. But I do think that size plays up. I think she's smart enough to stay away from Jéssica Andrade's big hooks or big overhand or, any of the big stuff. Andrade, she's going to stay out of firefights, right? Like, that's what she needs to do. She needs to stay out of making this an ugly fight. She needs to make this a pretty fight. And I think Natália Silva has all the skills to do that. Again, not touching it at negative 275, but she's the pick here.
All right. We are a team ride on all the picks so far. Before we move on to the main event, I got to tell you about Rhythm. If you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football, do you even know what a sports betting model is? SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me. And Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. The Rhythm college football team had everyone on Colorado versus North Dakota State under 59.5 points whenever they played. Week 1, we'll say, and it was a sweet cash for all involved. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And of course, I'm here to remind you the game time is now, and if authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Not just MLB, UFC, MMA, concerts, sports, they got it all. You can save 60% off your tickets buying them last minute. They got flash deals, zone deals. You can check it all out on their app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use our code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code SGPN for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Sigpin, indeed. All right. Main event. Welterweights. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. I'm seeing Gilbert Burns talk about his last title run. He's going to go on a title run, Gumby. Everyone is going to go on a title run in MMA. We'll tell you about him first. Dorino, little tough guy, is Gilbert Burns. 22-7. 6 knockouts, 9 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's 15-7 in the UFC, which is very impressive. However, he's lost 2 straight. Before that, he won 2 straight, and he's gone 3-4 over his last 7. Got knocked out in his last fight. He used to fight at lightweight. 2012 Pro MMA debut. He's a BJJ world champion. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.13 strikes per minute. He's at plus 165. Brady is 16-1, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 6-1 in the UFC. Won his last fight via submission. Regional champion. Used to fight at lightweight. 2014 pro MMA debut. An inch of reach. 6 years younger than Burns. Better striking stats. More active landing strikes and better grappling stats than Burns. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.22 strikes per minute. Minus 180. Over to Gumby.
So I'm going to take Sean Brady here, but I'm going to put the same caveat as the Natália Silva fight. And it feels bad doing this in the co-main event and the main event because, you know, we're here to break down fights and give you picks that have value. But, like, I really do think Sean Brady's not a value at negative 180. I think he's the worst striker in this fight, right? Like, yeah. I think we can both agree Gilbert Burns is a better striker. So then we're in the kind of in the same position we were in the, like, Sean Brady Michael Chiesa fight where we're like, okay, well, Sean Brady's going to win as long as he scores enough takedowns, and he might just score barely enough takedowns. Like, I don't think Gilbert Burns is going to sub him off of his back for as good as his jiu-jitsu is, but I do wonder how many takedowns it would take him to stuff to win this fight. And, you know, we haven't seen Sean Brady in a 5-round fight. Maybe he had a couple in the regional scene, but, like, we definitely haven't seen him recently have a 5-round fight, which, of course, begs a whole bunch of questions. What happens when he's in that kind of fight with Gilbert Burns? I do think he scores enough to win here. I like his top pressure and his top control. I like his ability, even just to hold Gilbert Burns against the cage and make him work there. I think Brady wins at least 3 of the rounds here, but at negative 180, I'm really not tempted on that number at all.
Yeah, I'm in on Brady as well. I think he can win a grimy victory, but it's going to be a sweat, perhaps. So, yeah, I second everything Gumby says there, but I think Brady's going to grind himself out a win. But Gilbert Burns still a dangerous guy even at this point in his career. He's a little tough guy after all. All right, recap and we'll give you our fancy plays. Brady, we're both in on Silva, both in on Garcia. It's a team ride actually. Both in on Schnell, both in on Peak, both in on Padilla. Boom, team ride. All right, fancy plays, locks, dogs, props, all that good stuff. I think it's my turn, even though we haven't.
Well, you were gone for a week, so you haven't done UFC breakdowns in a hot minute. Sure. So I'll let you go. Garcia
is my lock, minus 180 against the Canadian Willie Nelson.
All right, I'm gonna go a little bigger on the odds here on the lock. I didn't find any in like close fights that I was a big fan of, so I'm gonna take Gabriel Santos, negative 250. A little chalky on the lock this week, but I do like his value better than most.
I'm taking a big dog. Well, I have a ton of big dogs this week. I know she'll fight for her money at the very least. Vanessa Demopoulos plus 250.
I'm team riding you with the dog of the week. I'm taking a little monster too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no offense to Amorium, but I just think she's going to fight the kind of fights that Vanessa Demopoulos wins.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you caught me drinking again. All right. The prop pick, I think he watches for it. Trevor Peak via knockout or TKO. For some reason, plus 285 is the number on him via knockout. So
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why, because I'm going to directly contrast yours. I'm going to take Trevor Peak on the points.
All right.
Not that I don't think he can knock out Ashmouz, but I think he's just going to play like a wild striking match, and like, not that he doesn't have KO power, but like Ashmouz hasn't been knocked out all that ever been knocked out. No. Yeah, which is probably why you're getting a good line on the KO prop. And like Trevor Peak has gone the distance a couple of times recently, so I'll take Trevor Peak on the points. That one's 225. All right. So I'll contradict you. We had too many team rides here. We had to go head to head on something.
And Trevor Peak's going to lose now, and we're going to lose all their picks there. All right, recap. Santos and Garcia are the locks. Demopoulos is the dog. Peak via decision, Peak via TKO are the the prop picks. Gumby, Hungry Man Jog Superfan Parlay. What do you got for us?
I'm going to go sub heavy in this one. I'm going to go double submissions on the Hungry Man Jog here. The first one, kind of a small one, but I'm going to, I'll saddle up for a big one right after that. So I'm going to start with Nathan Fletcher's submission line. Despite being a slight favorite here, you can get his sub prop at plus 140. Again, I on yesterday's episode, I talked about how much I like the way he takes the bag, like the way he scores submissions. So I'll take him as the front end of that. The second one, we just talked about how much we like Taco Padilla. We talked about how Rongzhu's been submitted. Taco Padilla's submission line right now is plus 600.
Whoa.
Which I can't believe. I think that's the most likely way he wins this fight. So Give me Padilla's sub, give me Fletcher's sub, and put it together. You're going to get 1580.
All right. Fletcher sub, Padilla sub. Boom. All right. You're all set. If you want more insight, hit us up in the comments on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe first, and or in the Discord. Subscribe first, and then you can go to the Discord after. sportsgamblingpockets.com/Discord is the spot. YouTube, we're at not YouTube, X, Twitter X, SGPN MMA. He's Gumby Reeland. I'm Jeff Fox, writer there, and on Instagram. After we've given you all this advice, go to my Substack and win my pick'em contest, my free pick'em contest for the UFC this week. moneymma.substack.com, and get a lot more. Get, like I said, access to all the databases that I use for all these stats on these episodes here, and as well as other goodies. Check that out, moneymma.substack.com. Gumby's got Top Turtle MMA podcast. This week he has Mr. Dalgarian, Isaac Dalgarian, and he has the gentleman who won on Tuesday on the Contender Series from Australia, Saul Killed, right?
Yeah, sick mustache too on that man.
That's an Australian thing, right? Jenkins, and yeah, fantastic.
He's got a Jack Jenkins mustache. Yeah,
yep. There you go. So listen to that as well. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpockets.com, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store for your gear, sportsgamblingpockets.com/Patreon for extra content. Gumby, take us away.
All right. I'm Daniel Gumby Freeland. He's Jeff Taco Fox, and we will see you tomorrow.